Sathya Sai Speaks, Volume 13, Chapter 16, Full minus Full, Part 2 of 2. When Leela entices God, it takes 8 forms. The sun cannot illumine God. God is the source of the illumination of the sun. The waves can say they belong to the sea, but they cannot claim the sea belongs to them. The individual can say, I am yours to God, but he cannot say, you are mine to God. God is the support, you are the supported. The Nitya Vibhuti is the support of the Leela Vibhuti. The sea is the base on which waves happen. When Leela entices God, it takes 8 forms. They are Shabda Brahmamai, the absolute pure, Characharamai, the moving and the non-moving, Jyotirmai, the luminous, Vagmai, the vocal, Nityanandamai, the ever blissful, Paratparamai, transcending this world and the next, Maya Mai, enrapturing by its delusive charm, and Shri Mai, resplendent with wealth. The attributeless God assumes the mind, the intelligence and the ego, and the magnificent Leela is inaugurated. The experiences of the waking stage are laid aside when dreams start. Dream experiences disappear when sleep supervenes. Being too is lost in becoming. Christ said, life is lost in dreams. But whatever is experienced in any of these 3 stages, they happen on the basic truth, that is, God. Just as the fear and anxiety of trying to fight and kill a serpent are based on the mistaken belief that a rope is a snake, all our experiences are rooted in the underlying truth, even though they may be distorted by our ignorance. Let your love enfold all things and all beings. So man must endeavor to escape from this delusion and reach the state of fully illumined wisdom. The best spiritual discipline that can help him to do so is love. Foster the tiny seed of love that clings to me and mine, and let it sprout into love for the group around you, and grow into love for all mankind, and spread out its branches over animals, birds, and those that creep and crawl. And let that love enfold all things and beings in all the worlds. Proceed from less love to more love, from narrow love to expanded love. The statement from untruth to truth is not correct. The progress is always from the lesser truth to truth which is God. This is a story about the gods. It deals with the greed of men. It was a fine day in heaven. Sriman Narayana and his consort Lakshmi were talking away the hours when Narada, the wandering minstrel, entered and attracted their attention. Narayana asked Narada whether the denizens of the earth were happy. Narada replied that since they worshipped him and won his grace, men everywhere were quite happy and prosperous. At this, Lakshmi, who was the goddess of wealth, was afflicted with jealousy and anger, for her share in conferring happiness on man was not acknowledged. She challenged Narada to prove that Narayana was more adored than herself down on earth. Goddess Lakshmi poses a challenge. Narayana accepted the challenge. Donning ochre robes, he transformed himself into a monk and went down amongst the villages and towns, preaching the path. Thousands flocked at these meetings and listened to the enchanting oratory. They followed him from place to place and adored him with effusive enthusiasm. He was being carried along on a huge wave of devotion and adulation. Lakshmi saw this and could not contain herself. She was overwhelmed by envy. So she too donned the sannyasi, ascetic person, robe and came down to the very region which Narayana had conquered for himself. The people were drawn towards her by the effulgence of her presence. Many came away from the meetings addressed by Narayana to bask in her presence. A few invited her to their homes for dinner. She agreed, but she declared that it was a vow she had undertaken not to eat out of plates other than her own. She said that she would bring her own plate, cup, drinking vessel, etc. The host was only too glad to comply with her request, for that helped him to overcome one bother among many. When she went to the house of her host, Lakshmi took with her a plate of gold, a cup, and a water vessel, all three of gold. The host admired and adored her the more for this display of pomp and wealth. But he was astounded and delighted when, after dinner, Lakshmi said that she was leaving the plate, the cup and the water vessel at the host's home, since that too was part of her vow. When the news spread that it was highly profitable to invite Lakshmi to dinner and to adore her, there was a huge clamor for her grace, and millions deserted Narayana's discourse and hovered around the giver of gold. People prayed to Narayana to go back to where he came from, as they had no time to receive him or listen to him. Lakshmi was monopolizing their attention. So she went back to heaven to meet Narayana, who was already there. She asked Narada, "Now who is being worshipped more, Narayana or Lakshmi?" Righteous activity is prompted by truth. Narada replied with another question, "Whom are you worshipping, please?" Lakshmi answered, "Why, I worship Narayana." Then said Narada, "Know that it is Narayana's grace that is helping you bestow those gifts of gold which makes the men worship you." Lakshmi's pride was humbled, but man's foolishness continues. He worships mere earthly riches and not the indwelling divinity. Lakshmi, not Narayana. Righteous activity is prompted by truth. Truth is the basic teaching of all faith. Truth, morality, and love. These are the three I have come to establish. This day is Guru Purnima. In the morning, I laid down the foundation for the pillar of truth, which supports and sustains the twin virtues of love and morality. During the Vedic rite of sanctifying the spot where the pillar will be erected, you must have noticed that 9 different grains that grow on earth and 9 precious gems that are gotten from under the earth were used. These represent the 9 forms of bhakti, devotion, the 9 stages in man's journey to God. Navavidya Bhakti. Of these, the most vital is seva, selfless service to fellow beings. I exhort you to dedicate yourselves fully to this task and live in the full cognizance of this primary duty to your own self-service. End of Part 2 of 2. Prashanti Nilayam, July 23rd, 1975. It is always preferable to approach God for the fulfillment of wants rather than cringe before men who themselves are but tools in the hands of God. In His own silent way, God will transform the mind and turn it towards sadhana and successful spiritual pilgrimage. He cannot allow His children to lose their way and suffer in the jungle. When you approach God and seek His help and guidance, you have taken the first step to save yourself. You are then led to accept His will as your own, and thus you achieve Shanti, absolute peace. Sri Sathya Sai Baba.